Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about whether or not BDS, Team BDS, the recent world champions, have a boring playstyle. While we're doing that, we're going to watch 3 games from the grand final played against G2 Esports. This is game 1. We're on Seiko POV. After that, we're going to go to Monkey Moon POV for the second game, and then the last game of the series from Extra POV. So enjoy the gameplay. I'm going to be referring to it here and there, but for the most part, we're going to be talking about BDS playstyle historically and currently, as well as some other things related to the team. And my opinions, popular opinions, and so on. So for those of you who don't really get where this comes from, let me just very briefly explain to you. I think forever and currently, BDS have been accused by large parts of the Rocket League community, some popular, popular figures, some fans, of having a boring playstyle. Now, I don't personally agree, but I'll give you the arguments. I'll present to you the arguments I have seen to give you guys a chance to make up your own mind. But before we get into that, before we talk about playstyle and gameplay, I just want to mention 2 reasons why I think BDS are often underrated, at least when it comes to entertainment value. And those are, well, number 1, they're a dominant team, and people want to see underdogs win. BDS don't really do that. For the time that they've been in the Rocket League scene, they've been incredibly dominant. They've not allowed underdogs to beat them all that often. Think about RLCS Season X. They're the most dominant team from Europe or America for that entire season. And now, at second season in a row, if you look at the season as a whole, they're the most dominant team. They had a whole winter split where they didn't look that great with Mark in the roster. They had a spring major where they didn't look that great with Seiko on the roster, but everything else apart from that, they dominated. They were fall major champions. They were dominating the spring regionals in Europe as well. Now they've taken the worlds. When they do win, they win in such a crushing way that people just want to see them lose. They don't want to see BDS win because they know, well, they're just going to go and make everyone else look terrible. So that's reason number 1 why I think a lot of people are biased against this team, and I think often look at their gameplay through, well, whatever the opposite is of rose-tinted goggles. You're looking at them under a microscope, trying to find reasons to nitpick and hate on the team, just because they want to see them lose, and it doesn't happen often enough for people's liking. So yeah, I don't think that's a valid reason to think BDS have a boring playstyle, but it is something that I notice. Reason number 2, this being a French team, fully French team, and formerly a 2/3 French, 1/3 Spanish team, not a team that's as well known in the biggest community in the Rocket League scene, the English-speaking community. That is the language that brings this all together, because people who speak English tend to be too dumb to learn any other language. So, myself included, although I do speak Scottish Gaelic badly. Now, the fact that they are mostly active in the French-speaking Rocket League community, and their former player Mark by 8 in the Spanish-speaking Rocket League community, I think makes it difficult for people to connect with this team. Only getting the opportunity to do so through extra interviews occasionally, and now through their coach Mew, who does English interviews as well. So outside of those 2 avenues, it's harder for fans to really get on board with BDS being their favorite team and a team that they enjoy watching winning, because they're just not a team that are as active on live streams, YouTube, Twitter, social media in general, as a lot of the really, really popular teams that people tend to root for. Now again, I'm going to point out that I don't think that's a valid reason to think a team has a boring playstyle, but I think there's probably a correlation there, as I've seen many times. A goal that is nothing special, or a win that is nothing special at all, being praised for being the most exciting win and the most exciting team just because it's a team everybody likes. And in BDS's case, they get the opposite end of the stick, since they're a team that a lot of people love to hate on. They just get roasted all the time, even if they're winning with flawless Rocket League, beautiful display of rotations and mechanics. Some people will never enjoy that because they don't like BDS. Okay, so with that long explanation of what I think is not a fair reason out of the way with, let's talk about reasons that I think it would be fair to consider BDS being a boring team to watch. If you're not somebody who enjoys watching a team like BDS just cutting rotation, swarming their opponent, denying boost, being efficient with everything they do. That means, efficient with their movement, efficient with their touches of the ball, being clinical when to commit as third. If those are things that you enjoy watching, then sure, that's fair enough. You can call them, you can say that they've got a boring playstyle if you just simply do not enjoy the the beauty of fundamental Rocket League being played as close to perfectly as anyone ever has played it. You know, if you'd rather watch a team, you know, run away, give space to their opponents, let their opponents have a go at clipping on them, and then taking their turns clipping their opponents, then sure, that is a fair reason. I just want to repeat again, in case anybody's misunderstood me here. I think it's perfectly fair if you don't like watching the way that BDS play when it comes to their style, then that's fair enough. I think that's a totally reasonable reason to call them boring when it comes to playstyle. Now I'm going to, in the next game of this video, point out little nuances and little things in the games that we are watching that you can look out for to perhaps help you enjoy watching this style of gameplay even more. So without any delay, let's hop into game number 2 and watch what I think is the best game in the grand final from a single player. It's Monkey Moon on Aquadome. So here we go, game 2. This is BDS leading 1-0 in the series overall, and they're trying to add to that lead here. G2 looking to equalize. So what have you got to look out for? You know, if you've stuck around this long, if you haven't given up already, if you want to really learn and hear about what it is that makes BDS, I think, very fun to watch and very interesting to watch, then yeah, let's talk about it. So first of all, positioning. BDS are a very aggressive team when it comes to positioning. Now, I think that is part of the reason why they struggled at the London Major. When the pressure was on, they were not able to execute their aggressive style and their quick follow-ups in each other's plays as well as they did online. Whereas now, once they've had that loss and had a chance to learn from it, they're following up in each other's plays a lot more quickly, and they're not leaving gaps for other teams to break out and counter them. So you've always got to look out for an aggressive second man. You've always got to look out for an aggressive third man when BDS are playing. You've also got to look out for their boost management. Rarely will you see a BDS player leaving the play. I'm not saying never, but rarely will you see them leaving a play when there's an option to stick around and make an impact immediately, even if they're on low boost. They'll often just do little circles like this that you see from Monkey Moon here, just picking up small pads in the middle, lurking in that second man position. He's covering the middle, Extra is covering the other side. Now look at Monkey Moon again, saving 16 boost. Where is he going? Okay, mid boost is up, we're going to go grab that, but never leaving the play by too large of a distance if he thinks that there's a chance that he can make a play on the ball or follow up on one of his teammates' plays. Yeah, it's wonderful, I think, looking at how he moves around the field. Again, they're just sticking around with about half a tank of boost, grabbing a small pad, perfectly positioned at the back post, not darting away to look for a big pad because he's on half. No, notices an opportunity. It's that killer instinct that BDS, I think, annoy a lot of people with. I think that's one of the reasons why people get so frustrated watching them play, and one of the reasons, like I said before, that is a valid thing to think. If you think that this is boring, that's fine. You can have that opinion. I think that is a valid reason. I think that to think that they have a boring playstyle. I would disagree, because I'm looking at what Monkey Moon is doing here. I'm seeing the boost management, I'm seeing the positioning, and I'm really enjoying what I'm watching. And a highlight here again, fantastic stuff by Monkey Moon. This boost, it is up. I wasn't sure if the replay was going to bug on me there, because sometimes the replay will show boost being gone when it's in fact there. But Monkey Moon has 71, so he leaves that mid boost, understanding that, well, Extra might not be getting a back corner steal. We'll leave it up for him if he needs it. Seiko might be coming in behind me. Leave that one up for him if he needs it. Just really, really cool to see the way that they manage the only resource that you've got in Rocket League, the boost. But yeah, one of the other things, so beside boost management and aggressive positioning, sometimes at the cost of leaving boosts up in the backfield just to keep up ball pressure, just watch how clinical BDS are, especially in this grand final, when they decide to commit to the ball. Now, when G2 are making a really scary play, you'll see someone up in the air from BDS to challenge it. To somebody to force the issue. Like here, Monkey Moon jumping in the air. He probably doesn't expect to win that challenge, but he's forcing Chicago to do something. And that's not fun to watch if you're a G2 fan, because you're thinking, wouldn't it be nice if Chicago had time to just make a big air dribble play there, maybe flip reset on the ball, and then something else cool happens, right? Well, no, that's not what BDS do. They just force the issue constantly. They force their opponents to make moves early And yeah, once again, if you think that that's a boring playstyle because it's making the other team look worse, I think that that's a valid opinion. You can have that opinion. That's your opinion. Nobody can disagree with that. Well, somebody could disagree, but they can't tell you that your opinion is wrong. It is just an opinion at the end of the day. But me, I love watching that. I love seeing ball pressure because it's effective. I'm out here just wanting to watch good Rocket League. And as somebody who's casted as much 1v1 as I have in the past, you know I love me some ball pressure, and I appreciate the difficult playstyle that it is to execute, to forego boost just to try and stay on the ball and make your opponent, well, force your opponent to make a mistake. So those are some things that you can look out for with BDS. It's just how clinical they are with their decision making of when to go and when not to go. Just how consistent they are with staying upfield. We saw Monkeyman go back to the corner there because he didn't really feel like there was an immediate play coming. And he thought, okay, I can probably get all the way back, grab boost, and then make it back into attack before I'm needed. But also because, yeah, there was definitely a back corner boost up there. It was not too far away. But yeah, if he had a full ring of small pads to go for there, good chance he would have stuck in the area for it. But that's another good speedy play here by Monkeyman. That's another thing you're going to see a lot. We saw Seiko do this in the last game for his winning goal. Now Monkeyman in this game for, well, spoiler alert, his winning goal. They're just very fast to the ball. No nonsense. Beat opponents to the ball. I think Seiko actually dusted a G2 player in the aerial in the setup for the first goal of the game, in game number 1 as well. You know, you're regularly just going to see BDS completely outpace their opponents, and that means that the finishing touch doesn't even need to be anything fancy. When you're this fast, when you're this good at just positioning aggressively, getting to the play before your opponents can, you don't need to do anything fancy. And their pressure onto G2 here is really this starving G2 of realistic opportunities. G2 have managed to score 2 here. It's, you know, another close game in terms of the scorecard, but I think when everybody was watching this online and everybody watching this in the venue, there is an aura of inevitability about BDS in these games, that they just felt like they had full control. It felt like they were the team who were putting massive pressure on their opponents, and it felt like G2 were just trying to hold it all together. So, you know, G2 didn't play their best Rocket League in this grand final. You know, JNaps and Atomic especially really didn't have the best series, but you've got to credit BDS for making G2 panic, making G2 rush, and taking all that time away from them, forcing misplays constantly. It's not just the fact that G2 were a bit flat, it's the fact that BDS were so quick, so clinical, so efficient. And if you can look at all those moves, if you see somebody coming in to an attack with 30 boosts to the back post like Monkeyman did this game, you've got to recognize, oh, that's just brilliant play. I mean, it might not be flashy, it might not be a flip reset aerial goal, but it is brilliant in a totally other way. But yeah, you've really got to notice these things. You've got to pay more attention, I feel, to Rocket League games if you're going to appreciate the way that BDS play. You can't just kind of half watch the game, half not watch the game the way you can in another series. But okay, we'll continue to talk about that. While we do that, let me load up game number 3. So extra POV, game number 3. Like I was just saying, BDS, if you're kind of half watching the series, which I know is something a lot of people prefer to do, and there's nothing wrong with that. Again, I've saved all of the reasons why I think a lot of people accuse BDS of having a boring playstyle to the end here. At least I've saved all the reasonable ones till the end. Now, if you're half watching the series that BDS are playing, and you only tune in every time you hear a goal, and then you look at the goal and think, well, that was nothing special, it's probably because, yeah, their rate of scoring absolute worldies is not as high as some of the other teams in highest level of Rocket League right now. You think about Furia, you think about Moist. These teams are just scoring bangers every other goal because that is their playstyle. BDS playstyle is not about solo play. It's about team play. It's about perfectly following up on each other's touches and about beating their opponents to the read, or beating them to the ball because they've managed to stay in attack a bit longer than the other team expected by managing their boost perfectly. If you're kind of half watching a series and just watching every time there's a goal, you watch the replay, yeah, you're gonna think, well, I don't like this team at all. they're just not fun to watch. They're not doing anything. But actually, if you really pay attention and you do watch the whole build up and try and pay attention, these days something that will really, I think, help you appreciate BDS and enjoy their games a lot more is pay attention. You can't see it right now because we're on a replay, but if you watch the RLCS broadcast, it's got the boost totals for every single player in the top right corner. Just notice how many times BDS are just being so disciplined with that boost finger and being so aggressive with their positioning, even though they are sometimes running low. Still never overextending, still recovering quickly every single play. It's just a very, very disciplined way to play. Now there's one, well actually I think I already mentioned this briefly, but I do want to talk about in a bit more detail, you know, why this can be a difficult playstyle to execute. Now if you're being extremely aggressive with your offense, if you're challenging as early as you can, if you're forcing the opponents to make a move in the ball as early as you can, then you are going to naturally leave yourself open to counterattacks and leave yourself open to those big transitions in the midfield. And yeah, if you're not synergizing well, if you're not communicating to perfection, which I'm sure is something BDS were doing this event, then yeah, it can quickly fall apart. And this is something we see not just from BDS, but from teams like Falcons, except they didn't really get it together at the World Championship. BDS didn't get it together at the London Major. Even, you know, I think teams like Moist to a lesser degree, these are very aggressive teams with their positioning. Even I think Fury are another example of this. But yeah, South America and Europe and Middle East in general, I think have less consistency at the top compared to North American teams, because they tend to defend a lot more aggressively, and that can be fantastic. I think it's the best way to play if you're trying to win a championship, you're trying to win an event, but it's probably the worst way to play if you're trying to not finish last. If you're trying to just make sure that you don't come last, yeah, you probably want to be a bit more careful, give your teammates a bit more space in the pitch so you never double commit, and you can always have an easy job figuring out whose job or whose ball is which on the pitch. When you're given more space by your teammates, very clear, and you can actually get big runs of the ball, big, you know, high flights to the ball, and make those big plays that the fans do enjoy. Whereas BDS, they're always very tight-knit, close together, so they can pass the ball quickly. There's not a lot of room to intercept when they're playing because their passes are just so quick and short distance. None of these like really long looping passes. Well, I shouldn't say none, they do happen, but less long looping passes and more just quick fire battering in the backboard. Yeah, once again, if that's something that you enjoy, if you enjoy watching big high lob passes with redirects at the end, and because you don't see a lot of that from BDS, you think they're boring, that's perfectly, I think that's an okay opinion to have. If that's your preference, that's your preference. But if you want to know what to look out for when it comes to BDS, what can you try and spot to enjoy their gameplay more than you currently do? Well, look out for that close-knit synergy. Those quick-fire passes off the back wall, off the side wall, or even out of defense. Just one bang, two bang the balls in the net. Just they don't waste any time. Yeah, here we are in grand final. It's 3-1 to BDS. They've had phenomenal control all series long. They have simply just been the better team in this final, and we have to actually switch from Extra's POV here to watch Monkey Moon again. So it's another example of Monkey Moon. Yeah, this time he's bumped by his teammate, but just lingers upfield, and there you go. There's your lob into redirects for all of you who prefer the high flying goals to the usual banger that BDS send on net. JNaps had boost there, but he just wasn't quite ready for the shot quality that Monkey Moon sent towards him. So in summary, why do people think BDS have a boring playstyle? Well, it's because the intricacies and the brilliance of their play, it's harder to notice, especially for newer fans and people who are not really watching in full detail. So if you're not really paying attention to a series, yeah, it's going to be tougher to notice what BDS did well. Rocket League's so fast-paced. If you're just watching the goal replays when you hear some noise, yeah, BDS on average are not going to have the big clip. They did get quite a few insane goals in this tournament and even in this grand final. But sure, I totally agree. Compared to some of the other top teams, they've got a lower goal to clip ratio than other teams. Other teams scoring more of their goals will be clips. So if that's what you're looking out for, then yeah, that's totally fair. I think a lot of people do want to watch Rocket League for the clips. Nothing wrong with that. But yeah, if you watch a bit more closely, I think you'll start to appreciate what BDS are really doing and why they are so good. And when you do notice it, it becomes, at least in my experience, a ton more enjoyable to watch. But also just to recap on the first game there, a lot of people, I think the fact that BDS are not as active on social media and the fact that they don't interact with the larger international audience too often probably has people rooting against them, which obviously translates to people enjoying even the good plays that they make less, and I think unfairly criticizing them of being boring just because they don't because some people don't want to see them win, and of course their dominance ties into that as well. They're a dominant team that that keep beating up on everybody's favorite team, so naturally people are going to cope by calling them boring. That I don't agree with. I don't think that's a fair thing to do at all. If that's you, then come on. You could do better than that. There are legitimate reasons to think that BDS have a boring playstyle. That's not the reason. Those aren't the reasons. But yeah, for me personally, I love watching BDS play. I think that they really play Rocket League rotation, and they really play the fundamentals just so well. And it's something that I backed during the online era of Rocket League. For a long time. I'm going to show the scoreboard of the last game while we continue to do a summary and outro here. But for the entirety of RLCS Season X, I had to listen to so many people saying BDS are terrible. They would never have a chance against North American teams. And the reason for that was because BDS were just scoring simple goals, didn't look all that fancy, didn't look all that cool, and that had a lot of people underrating them. I was not somebody who's underrating them back then. I thought they were the best team in the world. I think the results since then have kind of proved that they probably were the best team in that era, with EU looking the strongest once the newest season of RLCS got started and BDS winning the fall major. Here's Monkey Moon's 700-point game, by the way, ridiculous. That is something I had to argue about for the longest time, saying no, actually, if you look really closely, BDS are pretty insane. You just got to really look closely. You can't only look at the highlight package and get an idea of how good this team is. You've got to get into the replay, get on the first person POV, and then look at all the little movements and the decisions that they're making, and then you can really appreciate it. So yeah, someone who had to keep on saying that I don't know how many times during the online era of Rocket League and during the RLCS Season X, it really is satisfying now seeing BDS be so successful, because it's it kind of proves that what we were saying, a lot of me and a lot of the other European Rocket League fans were saying at the time, is that actually BDS are really good. You just have to be smart. You have to look closely. If you just go in, trying to see who did the most mechanical play, yeah, it's probably going to go over your head. Because the BDS mechanics, they're so far ahead of other teams that they don't even give other teams a chance to get a challenge on them. They just hit the ball past them into the open net. No need to do anything fancy past the goalkeeper. There won't even be a goalkeeper there to save a lot of BDS shots. But anyway, that's about all I've got to say on this topic. The points that I do think are valid, the points I don't, and my opinion. Be sure to leave your opinions below in the comments. I think it's an interesting one. Do you think BDS have a boring play style? I think some people, I think a lot of people do. I personally do not. I love watching them play. Massive congrats to them on winning the championship. They fully deserved it. The regain that they had between London just a month ago and now is something I've never seen in Rocket League before. I don't think I've seen a team go from a low like that to then being right on top of the mountain in such a short time frame. Nothing short of incredible. But that's all I've got time for today, guys. I'm back in the UK now, going to be streaming this week, so be sure to check it out. Follow me on Twitter if you want to know when I go live. I tweet before all my streams. Yeah. Also, comments down below. Going to be reading those later. Looking forward to seeing what you guys have to say. Anyway, thanks for now, guys. I'll see you in the next one.